With that, I want to cut across right now to the Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot, who's joining us on the meeting. Sachin, appreciate you joining us. Thank you. So, Sachin, what happened in the meeting today, Mr. Pilot? What was discussed with the Prime Minister vis-a-vis Rajasthan? How does it pan out for your state?
I think the PM made clear that the final decision of having a lockdown and how to proceed beyond 3rd of May will be a call taken on the 3rd of May. But to my mind, the approach has to be a mixed approach where you open up areas which are in green zones, which districts and areas of our country where we don't have any infections. Those areas can certainly be opened up. Because I think now we have to gauge and analyze as to the returns of the lockdown. I think there may be some diminishing returns, and yet we can't take the risk of opening up parts of our country which are still having a lot of infections. So as far as Rajasthan is concerned, the numbers are still rising. We're trying our best to contain those numbers. But the fact is that about 26 districts here, Rajasthan, have, from 2 to 600 cases. So we have to be very careful how to move about, opening up the lockdown. And I also worry that while the lockdown being removed is an eventuality that we'll all have to come to in the end, how far and how much to open up? I think that's a moot question. And that decision should be taken in consultation with the scientific community, the doctors, the stakeholders, the various state governments. And I think what we have to do as a country is make sure that whatever decision we take, we have to follow it to the T. There's no point in having lockdowns if people don't maintain the sanctity of those lockdowns. There's no point in having curfews if people are violating those curfews. So I think the people have to really be very, very disciplined. And we can't take this lightly. We have to learn from the experience of the United States and European countries where, and I'm actually quite surprised in the US, there are still people that are using, gymnasiums and salons, etc. But in India, certainly with our density of population, we really can't afford to take that risk.
So, Mr. Pilot, it seems for Rajasthan, it's going to be a partial lockdown, as you suggested, a phase-wise lifting of the lockdown for your state. That would be the suggestion by the state. However, a lot of the economy in Rajasthan is the rural economy. Now, how will the state formulate an exit plan in that department?
We already have what we call a modified lockdown because almost all the agricultural activities are taking place. It's harvest season. You can't have farmers not going to the fields. And of course, we need to keep a supply chains intact. So the food grains will run out if we don't harvest our current crop and then sow the seeds for the next crop. So agricultural purchase of food grains is happening. We've opened up the entire rural area. We've engaged a lot of labor in Narendra. On 17th of April, when I first held a meeting, there were only 62,000 people enrolled for working in Narendra. Today, I'm happy to inform you that we have more than 10 lakh people who have enrolled in doing Narendra work. And we're focusing on people doing economic activities on their own lands, on their own homes, so that they create assets for themselves and yet get paid for it. And that's how I think you can revive rural economy. Unless you increase the consumption and the disposable income in the hands of the people, you can't have a revival. So I'm absolutely certain that in Rajasthan and most other places, the rural economy has to be the focus. You contain and maintain the lockdown and curfew in hot zones, which a lot of infections are still coming in. And there are areas which have a propensity to have further infections. So those have to be, that data has to be extrapolated, taking no chances. And yet at the same time, in areas that are outside the limits of the cities, industries being allowed to function, labor is allowed to stay on the premises of the factory and still operate. So we're slowly and gradually and yet cautiously, breathing life back into the economy as we speak.
So, Mr. Pilot, what is the fine print on industries? Because you do have certain industrial towns, Bhilwada's red zone, so I don't think anything's going to happen there. But that was your textile town. How will the state now balance the economic cost of the pandemic with the human cost? Also, what about local transport in the state? Is that going to be let up a little?
That's a very tough call to take because we need to get our industry back into functioning. We have to make sure that they adhere to all the precautions that we have mandated. Both Government of India and our government is mandating social distancing, personal hygiene, washing of hands. We've also thought of extending the shift of work from 8 hours to 12 hours. That involves less movement of labor and more productivity per shift. So we're looking at all these creative ways to nuance our policies so that we can get the most out of our workforce with the least possible risk to their health. Don't forget that the first job of any government is to make sure that our citizens, our people are healthy and are safe. That has to be a top priority. And yet the economic cost will take its toll. How much longer can the country like India be under a lockdown like this? So we have to start opening up. And I think that's the broad consensus that perhaps came about in the PM's meeting with the chief ministers of various states. And every state is different also, Preeti, because what might work in the Northeast may not work in southern India. What is important for us in the heartland may not be so crucial for a coastal state. So we have to look at states, and within states there are different districts which have different topography, different demography, different response to the coronavirus, different capacities of healthcare infrastructure. Keeping all these various inputs in mind, we have to take a very calibrated approach on how to go about partially opening up the economy so that people have a sense of security. And don't forget, 83% of our workforce is in the unorganized sector, and those people live, hand to mouth, earn every day, feed their families every day. So our top concern has to be the lives and the hunger that these people are facing throughout India.
All right, so, one thing is clear for the state of Rajasthan, the recommendation is clearly, and that is what the state will follow, is a partial lockdown. How you do it now is you're taking us through or talking us through that roadmap. But last question, Mr. Pilot, before I let you go. Rajasthan from the beginning has been very clear that there's not enough funding coming in from the center. There was also a huge point made with the faulty test kits as well. You were not the only state, I understand. But what is, the point on that right now?
Not just Rajasthan. I mean, we have to understand that if any state government has to take on the infected patients, treat them, maintain all the lockdown as has been mandated, create new infrastructure, hospital beds, PPE kits, ventilators, etc. You'll need money for that. There's absolutely almost no income coming in for the last few weeks since lockdown has happened. So you need that financial headroom. And I see no reason why the government of India can't give a state-specific package to various states that are facing this problem. That's something that the government of India should do. I think the stimulus and the economic package announced by government of India is a fraction of what other large economies are doing. So you need that financial resource coming in from the government of India. And as far as the kits are concerned, we raised that issue. I think the ICMR has taken cognizance of the fact that some of them were defected. They're relooking at how to go forward. But as far as testing is concerned, it has to be a national endeavor. It can't just be one state. So we have to test, isolate, treat, and then move forward. The mortality rate is quite low. So I think most people must not fear. And I think also there is a stigma attached now to be, COVID-19 positive. We have to also, as a country, rise above that. This sort of, attacking on the healthcare workers, attacking the police sometimes, this negativity surrounding the coronavirus in social terms, I think is a very disturbing factor. So all of us have to, especially you in the media, also should, I think, propagate a positive message that people should come forward, voluntarily get tested, and a vast majority of people get cured from this. The mortality is very, very low.
All right, appreciate you joining us, Mr. Pilot. Thank you and good luck with the fight against coronavirus where Rajasthan is concerned. Hi everyone, Preeti Choudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.